He had his hair braided, and they put some kind of chemical. I don't know if it's some whole juice. I don't know what y'all call it.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feel it all so silky smooth. Just let it.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
Ooh, having some fun at Tank's expense. That Soul Glow stuff gets me. It gets me. Look, he said it. He said after the fight, it's Monday. Had a big weekend. Don't really want to recap the fights too much. Everybody's talking about Tank. My man, Drew Titan, says, yo, was listening to Drew Titan. I always check him out in the morning. But you know what people haven't been talking about? And I get it, because all the talk has been about Tank and Soul Glow and the fact that he lost and Lamont Roach should be lightweight champion of the world. What about this guy? Gary Antoine Russell was completely dominant in his win. I mean, he looked so good. Gary Antoine Russell, he's one of those guys that everybody knows he's got potential. And he fell short in his first shot at a belt. The way he looked against Valenzuela, I thought it was a shutout. I thought it was 120-108. I thought he was going to stop Valenzuela towards the end of the fight. He didn't. Valenzuela stuff, and Valenzuela landed some shots. I was just watching the fight again. Valenzuela landed some shots. Man, Gary Antoine Russell, that version, I think he's the top guy at 140. I mean, and you can't you can't base it on one fight. You really can't, because Teofimo Lopez has looked great in some fights and looked terrible in others. But man, Gary Antoine Russell looked sensational. Drew says Gary pitched a shutout. Rail couldn't get it started. He couldn't get it started. And it's funny, Valenzuela, he landed some shots. And every time you thought, the Valenzuela fans thought, oh, here he comes. Gary Antoine would eat a shot or two and come back with 5, 6, 7. He looked amazing. And I'm a Gary Antoine Russell fan, and I was shocked when he lost in his title shot. Stormy B, man, I got some heavy hitters in here. Like, this is serious stuff. Jay Rich, the boxing world going to be in shambles when Shakur knocks Roach out next too. Can't wait. Wow. Jay says needed guard to get the KO, but kept his foot on Rail neck. Yeah, I can't say enough about Gary Antoine Russell. I mean, what more can you say? What more could he have done except stop Valenzuela? And Valenzuela's got a great chin. It's hard to stop that man. Oh boy, Gary Antoine Russell was, and on all due respect to Lamont Roach, but Gary Antoine Russell was the star that night. He was the star. I mean, I was pumped after his fight. He just, man, he looked so good. Man, I should play that. Let me play because nobody was in when I played my little intro to the show. So let me play this again.
He had his hair braided, and they put some kind of chemical. I don't know if it's some whole juice. I don't know what y'all call it.
Just let your soul glow. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feel it all so silky smooth. Just let it.
Oh man, I gotta watch that movie again. Oh, Drew Titan, did you hear that the decision may be reversed? Roach may be awarded the win. Yeah, I did. I did. We'll see. I would be surprised. They should do the right thing. It's funny, man. I was looking at a couple shows, and everyone was talking about the rules. The rules are hard to find. The WBA has their own set of rules, but I think this was under the unified rules of boxing. And it's hard to find, like, the rules of boxing. I'm not a rules expert. I tried to look. It's so convoluted. Like, Look, I mean, he went down. If you look at the rules, it says it has to be from a punch. But we've seen guys take knees when they need a breather, and it's counted as a knockdown. So I'm not my problem. My problem is that in the NFL, the NBA, MLB, you can look up the rules and you'll know exactly what the deal is for wild pitches, for what a legal catch is in football. You don't really get that in boxing. So we'll see. The way that Arthur McCanny, I was checking out Marco's boxing show today, and I believe Arthur McCanny said if he was reffing that fight when Tank went down, he would have given him an 8 count. And yeah, he was hit with a jab before he took the knee. That's true. I mean, he was hit. Obviously, the punches made the juice go in his eyes. Whatever you want to say. So, Drew, you're right. Jay will be beyond hilarious if Tank technically loses his O before Haney. Yeah, well, we'll see. Arthur Mercanti is a respected ref, and he said he would have given him a count. And Steve Willis started to give him a count and then stopped. But there's also the fact that his corner got involved. I thought that if you entered the ring or went on the ring apron during the fight, you could get DQ'd, but it just gets murky. Can you get DQ'd, or who is it up to the ref? Because they interfered with the fight. I can remember when Larry Holmes knocked out Jerry Cooney. Jerry Cooney's team came up in the ring to stop the fight, and they were talking it might be a DQ, but they did the right thing and they said it was a TKO. So but Drew, is it an automatic DQ? Because if that's and I believe that we've been told that, but I just haven't seen any kind of a rule book, anything that concretely says if this happens, then this happens. It's just murky because boxing is what it is. It is what it is. So is it an automatic DQ? Or is it up to the ref's discretion? I don't know. Again, I'm not a rules expert. And Drew says it's never been enforced under calm circumstances. Yeah, but I mean, if the corner gets involved with the fight during the fight, you would think that's a DQ. You would think that, but is it the case? Harold Letterman was he was a friend of mine, and we got along really well because we talk boxing all the time. He was a rules expert, but I wish I had the rules to study. I was on the WBA's website and they have the rules, but I just didn't want to start. Like, I'm not a litigator. Jay Rich, seen Dan Raphael said he texted a couple refs and said that it should have been a knockdown and it was worth the DQ. But it seems to be up to the refs, right? Now, the New York State Athletic Commission blaming a technical issue for Davis knee no call, says matter under review. What's the technical issue? Was their replay system not working? Because I don't know where they get the replays from. I'm assuming it comes from TV. This would have been Amazon Prime. Could have shown them any replay they wanted. I've been in production trucks. You can see any replay from any angle instantaneously at any time. Because when I'm in a truck, when I'm working as a replay director, we are looking at replays real time while the round is going on, getting ready for knockdowns or good punches. So what's this technical issue? Because they dropped the ball too. They really did. It should have been a knockdown. Could have been a DQ. So we're still talking about this. It's only been 2 days. But very interesting to see what the New York State Athletic Commission does. The round after, maybe 2, they acknowledged the replay center did review it. Oh, Jay, I was watching, but I don't remember hearing that. I believe you. But if they reviewed it, they could have changed it. You can change it a round or 2 later to the right call. You can change it. You can. So here we go. We're still talking about this, and really, I need to see Gary Antoine Russell do an interview. I need to see more of him. I got to see him fight more because he elevated himself, and Gary Antoine Russell's a guy that I want to see again. But this is the biggest news in the sport, and can you imagine? Can you imagine? Like Jay says, it'll be beyond hilarious if Tank technically loses his O before Haney. So, and Tank, Drew said it. Everybody said it. Tank willingly took a knee. He willingly took a knee. So he was willing to take a 10-8 round to get his face white, but you can't get your face white during the round. You can't. So he said he didn't know the rules. I guess his corner. I can't believe that Barry Hunter and those guys, they don't know the rules. I don't believe that. I kind of get if the fighter doesn't know the rules, although he should know. You would think you would know that, but okay, you would think that experienced corner would know. You can't. I mean, he took a knee and went over to his corner and started yelling at his corner to wipe his face. You can't do that. You can't do that. But maybe you can in boxing. I don't know. It's just what can you say? What can you say about this sport that we love, and it just nobody knows the rules. And again, I'm not a rules expert, and I did a little bit of research, but again, that's not my thing. I don't know the rules. I just know it seems to be hard to find the rules. So, because you look, one thing I did see, and then I'm going to stop with this rules stuff, but it said that a knockdown has to be caused by a punch. But that's not true. That's not true because Floyd Mayweather, when he fought Carlos Hernandez, and he didn't take a knee. People have been saying he took a knee. His he hurt his hand. His hand, he bent down and he touched the canvas. That constituted a knockdown. He didn't get hit with a punch. He didn't get hit with a punch. He didn't take a knee. He was in pain. He touched the canvas. We think that the rules are when you touch the canvas with your knee or your glove, that it's a knockdown. Now, this whole thing that it has to be from a punch, Drew, now that's bullshit. Like, it's BS because the Floyd Mayweather knockdown shows that it doesn't have to be from a punch. But that's what the rules say. So it really shouldn't matter if Tank got hit with a punch or didn't, because Floyd Mayweather did not get hit with a punch. Floyd Mayweather hit Hernandez. He was in pain, bent over, touched the canvas, and the rep immediately started counting. Immediately started counting. So, we'll see. We'll see. Rusty Cage, they stole Lamont's Rocky moment. I'm disgusted. I thought he won the fight even without the knockdown called. I had it 115, 113, and I expected Tank to win by knockout. And sorry, all due respect to Lamont Roach, but he was moving up. He hasn't shown tremendous punching power, and I thought that Tank was gonna catch him, and he did catch him. And Lamont Roach didn't go anywhere. Jay Rich, even if that were the case, Roach landed a punch. Exactly. Tank stepped back, then took a knee. Then in the post conference, he said he didn't want to get knocked out, so he took a knee. Exactly. So Levi says Roach actually has a legitimate case to have this decision overruled to a win. And Jay, I expected Tank to win in 6. I think a lot of people did. Look, my boy Dan Canobio, who was on the telecast, he does all the betting. He said one of the best prop bets was 2 knockdowns in the fight, that there's going to be at least 2 knockdowns in the fight. Well, he was half right. There was one, but it wasn't counted, so there were no knockouts, but no knockdowns. But, of course, he was thinking that it was going to be Lamont Roach getting knocked down at least twice, and it didn't happen. So we can't stop talking about this because, again, if the rules say that a knockdown has to be caused by a punch, to be a knockdown. It's not true because Floyd Mayweather's only knockdown, I believe it was his only knockdown. There was some other debatable ones, but against Carlos Hernandez. I remember working that fight. I remember being in the truck, and I happened to look down, and then they were counting, and I said, "What happened?" And we showed in the replays his glove hit the ground, the canvas. So it was a knockdown, and he did not get punched. So, but here we go. Like, show me the paper, the rule book, so that we could. I wish there was no debate, and I could just put on the screen. Here's the unified boxing rules, and this constitutes a knockdown. This constitutes a disqualification, an immediate disqualification. I think they leave it up to the refs. I really do. Mike Golden, you guys can bet on the fight not getting overturned for sure. Not going to happen. Rematch and handle it in the ring. It's I'm trying to think of a champion who lost his title by getting something overturned. I'm sure it's happened. I can usually think about these things. I can't think of a champ who lost his title like this. Now look, it was the New York's fault. It was the referee's fault. So those guys cost Lamont Roach the win. Will they do the right thing? Mike is probably right. They probably won't do the right thing. Ooh, man, the draw. Bruce, I don't usually bet, but it seems like the smart bet is always, if you want to bet a little bit of money, bet 25, $50, $10 on a draw. $10 would have got you 250. So that's a pretty good return on your investment. This one, I doubt many people bet that this fight was going to be a draw. Almost everyone thought it was going to be Tank knockout. Tank is a pumped up featherweight, so his power was going to hit a ceiling sooner or later. Yeah, but Daniel, he was fighting a guy moving up. I mean, he knocked out guys like Mario Barrios, who is now a welterweight. Ryan Garcia, who I don't know what weight he fights at. He's but he's not a lightweight. He wasn't a lightweight when they fought, since they technically fought at 136. So I don't know. Don't be so sure. Things have been different lately. Drew, I feel like the New York State Athletic Commission has to redeem themselves, and the only way they can do it is by overturning it. But I don't know. I don't know if they will. I'm very curious to see what they do. I'm very curious to see what they do. Levi says there's no problem with Tank losing his title by an overturned decision because he should have already lost it in the ring. Exactly. But there are I'm a boxing person, so I don't even want to say fan, but I've watched Tank. I've rooted for Tank in some of his fights. But there's going to be an uproar if it does happen. There's going to be an uproar. And I know Tank and Roach were going at it in social media, and the way Tank was talking, they're going to have a rematch in May. What happened to Jake Paul? What happened to that nonsense? I don't know. Tank, nowadays you find things out in social media, and Tank is saying that they're going to have a rematch. Shakur Stevenson was in the house, and Jim Lampley, who we're going to talk about Jim Lampley in a minute, but Jim Lampley was asked after the fight because he was there. He was wasn't calling the fight, but he was with ppv.com, and they do a live chat, and he does a lot of pre and post fight stuff. So he was asked after the fight how Tank Davis would fare against one Shakur Stevenson, New Jersey's Shakur Stevenson.
Shakur Stevenson has a reputation as being the best defender in the division. He is a feared fighter because of that particular quality. If I'm Tank Davis and I'm coming off a disappointment in terms of my offensive output, I'm not going straight to the best defender in the division. I'm looking for some other fight, and I think the logical fight for him is a rematch with Lamont Roach. Let's see it again. Let's see if Roach can go ahead and capitalize on what he showed here tonight, which is he was a much better fighter at 135 pounds than most of us expected him to be.
Okay, who do you lean towards in Gervonta versus Shakur if that does happen? Who are you favoring?
Based on what I saw tonight, I would have to lean to Shakur Stevenson. My long-term impression has always been that the great defender is more likely to win than the great offensive fighter, even the great knockout artist, which Tank has been up to this point, based on what I saw tonight. And it's great for the sport, really. I want to see Shakur Stevenson against Tank Davis, and I make Shakur Stevenson a slight favorite to win that fight.
Jim Lampley, the legend, thank you so much. It's Johnny Boy Boxing at Fight Hype. Thank you so much for your time. We'll catch you soon.
So there you go. That was Jim Lampley after the fight, picking Shakur Stevenson. You got to click the anti-echo on StreamYard. Man, you know what? I'm telling you, my microphone has been giving me problems. And the echo cancellation is. So let me try this again. Just tell me, Bruce, if you're there.
Knockout or a probable
if you're
knockout, which is what
an
most
echo.
people
Is there an
expected
echo
to
going
see.
on?
And
'Cause
then
I'll just
over the
take my
course
mic
of the
out.
next several rounds, you saw that maybe the opponent, Lamont Roach, actually got stronger moving up 5 pounds to 135 pounds. He was able to take Tank shots without ever really being in any serious
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm no technical guru either. All right. I don't know what it was, but I appreciate that. But that was Jim Lampley. He's picking Shakur. And look, you're only as good as your last fight, right? That's what people coming back. The echoes from the video, I think, not you. Yeah, it could be. But that was Jim Lampley. And I was happy to hear this. I'm going to play another video. Hopefully there's no echo. But Jim Lampley made an announcement. He's going to be calling the fights on May 2nd.
Hello again, I'm Jim Lampley, and I'm here to announce that after a few years away from ringside, I will be returning on May 2 under the banner of the Ring Magazine to cover the triple header in Times Square that involves Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Teofimo Lopez, a new groundbreaking event for the sport outside in the middle of New York City. I'll be back at ringside to call blow by blow. Couldn't be more excited about it.
So there you have it. Jim Lampley is back. He hasn't called a fight since December 8th, 2018. That was the last time that HBO broadcast a fight, and then they said sayonara. But Jim is back. Jim is back, and I am excited. Boy, it would be nice to have this trio back. And Jay Rich just says, happy for Lampley. But I personally would love Max Kellerman back ringside. Bring them all back. Turkey has got the money. Now, Max Kellerman, I do know because I've had contact with him about another project. He was very cryptic, but my belief is that he's still under contract with ESPN for a certain amount of time. He's under contract, and once that time is up, he can sign with someone else because he just has had no contact with anybody. You don't see him out there. I don't even think he's on social media. He's getting paid a lot of money still with ESPN, but I thought his contract ended 2024. I just don't know. But my guess is when it's up, Turkey Al-Sheikh is going to try and get these guys together. He's already got one. He's got the man in the middle. You got to complete this trio. You got to get Roy Jones. You got to get Max Kellerman. And Turkey is the guy to do it. And Daniel Wood says 8 years away, shameful. Yeah, well, 7. But yes, he was supposed to work a Triller. he was supposed to work a Triller fight, and the main event got canceled, and they were gonna have some other fight. It became a joke fight, and he said no, I'm not doing it. So he hasn't. Shockingly, he said he wasn't even offered any fights when he stopped with HBO. I'm actually gonna try and get Jim this week because I do know Jim, and I texted him last night. And I congratulated him, and he said, "Where's Jim?" So I said, "I can't wait to hear you call some fights." And he said, "Well, I need reps, and that isn't likely to come from rehearsals. So I hope I get some leeway to start, but I think I can find the gears and do it. Just have to work. Thanks." He's 75 years old, and I literally interviewed him in person back in October. So a few months ago, I was in North Carolina. That's where he lives. And Jim, when he starts talking about boxing, he's Jim Lampley. Jim Lampley talks like Jim Lampley, by the way. Like Jim, Jim, Jim Lampley. Let me remove this. So Jim Lampley, of course, he's got that distinct voice, right? Like he said, "Hello, I'm Jim Lampley." Jim Lampley talks like that even when he's not on TV. Like when I went to see him, he gave me a tour of his house, and it was very like, "Well, George, would you like a tour of the house?" And it was all like Jim Lampley. He just talks. He talks like that all the time. He talks like that all the time. But these are the fights. They're having them in Times Square. So I wonder how they're going to set that up. I'm curious, and that's dangerous too because it's outside. The weather in May, you never know. You can get rain. You can get cold. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's if they're talking about literally Times Square, we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. But Ryan Garcia and Rolly Romero, Devin Haney and Jose Ramirez, Teofimo Lopez and Arnold Barboza. The Garcia Romero fight will be fun just for the build up. Just for the build up, it'll be fun. Rusty Cage asks, "Will it be pay per view?" Of course it will. I mean, of course it will. And I don't know this, but it's oh well, I shouldn't say that because Turkey. I would think if it is a pay per view, it'll be cheaper. But this is the Ring Magazine series or whatever they're calling it. So maybe this one will be free. Maybe this one will be free. I'm assuming on DAZN, of course. Uh, But Levi says, "How is he still under contract? I thought they let him go 2 years ago." Yeah, I believe it was 2 years ago, but his contract might have been through, I don't, 2024, 2025. So I think if they didn't buy him out, so he would keep getting paid, they might have said, "All right, well, you just got to ride this out and not do anything, but still get paid." It has to be that because Max Kellerman would be doing something. I wanted to get him as a talking head. I wanted to interview him for a doc series I'm doing, and he was cool. I mean, he called me back, although he hasn't answered one text since. And he was just cryptic. He just said, "I can't do anything right now," and I respected that. So we move on. Jay, I seen that too. I think he's part of the layoffs, but he has to wait for the contract to be. Yeah, yeah. I think so too. Daniel Woods, will Turkey launch Ring TV and walk away from DAZN? Who knows? I really don't know. Jay Rich, he says that, but I'm sure it's just like riding a bike. He'll be in fine form by the time the main card starts. Yeah, he'll be nervous. He'll be nervous. He's 75, and I wonder if he worries about age. Look, Jim seemed great to me. I interviewed him about 3 or 4 fights, and I know he said he didn't have time to watch them, but his recall, he's Jim Lampley. He can just recall things, and it's amazing. It really is. Best Jim Lampley call for me, it happened. Yeah, that's a hard one to top. When Buster Douglas beat Tyson, that was a great one. A lot of great Jim Lampley calls. Will it be pay per view? Yes, I believe it will be. Lloyd Edward, bring back Roy and Big George Foreman to the broadcast. I think George Foreman. I don't think he would come back under any Well, I think he would come back in a special circumstance if they pay him enough. But if it was up to me, these are the guys that I want. And Al Bernstein, the great Al Bernstein, just celebrated. I don't want to get it wrong, but was it 40 years? It was some incredible amount of time that he's been calling fights. And he called one fight with Jim Lampley, and it was Mayweather Pacquiao. And he said, I would love to do another fight with Jim. I would love to see them paired up, but these three right here, man. And I miss Emmanuel Stewart too. But these three, woo, Levi, no. They should get Sugar Ray on the broadcast too. Let me tell you something. Sugar Ray Leonard, I don't really have a bucket list. My bucket list, though, I'm going to start one right now. It's to meet Sugar Ray Leonard. Let me go full screen. I want to meet Sugar Ray Leonard because I've never met him. I worked on a broadcast with him once, and I asked some people to introduce me, and they didn't. I didn't want to just go up to him like as a groupie. Sugar Ray Leonard, when I was a kid, I was a member of his fan club. I'm not even going to pull out the memorabilia, but Sugar was my guy. I started boxing when I was a kid because of Sugar Ray Leonard. I wanted to be Sugar Ray Leonard. So that's my man. I'm gonna meet Sugar Ray Leonard this year. I'm gonna meet him, not on Zoom, in person. I'm gonna hang out with Sugar Ray Leonard. But that being said, Sugar Ray Leonard was a longtime announcer. He was with HBO back in the day for a long time. Sugar Ray Leonard, they started to trot him out remember when, need Andre Ward back. Remember when, all these new entities started doing boxing, they would always bring back Sugar Ray. DAZN did it and PBC did it. And he's just, as much as I admire and respect him, he just doesn't bring that much to a broadcast. And Levi, people that don't know, not saying you don't know, but they would bring him back. DAZN did it. When DAZN started, Sugar Ray was on there, but I think they quickly realized that he didn't really bring too much. So he didn't do many fights. Jay Rich, I would honestly expect Foreman to have some kind of speech problems by now, but he sounded great in that Pivot podcast not too long ago. Wouldn't mind hearing from Big George ringside again. He sounds great. I don't know if it was Pivot, but I saw when his movie came out last year, he did some podcasts and he sounds amazing. And I don't know if it was Pivot. Was Pivot the ones that they went to Texas and they interviewed him in where all his cars were? Because George sounded great and he looked great. So he's in the 70s as well. Yeah, need Andre Ward back ringside too. I would take Andre too, but that's my first choice right there. Those three are my first choice. Hopefully it happens. I really hope it happens. I mean, I really, really hope it happens. But he's going to be calling these fights on May 2nd. Oh, Stormy. Ha ha. See, don't get me started on Sugar Ray because Stormy, you know what was great? Not only the one with him and his son, but the one with Duran and his son and Little Ray. Man, I'm telling you, I want to meet him, and I didn't want to go up to him and just say, "Hey, I'm a big fan," because everybody does that. Even though I am a big fan, and you know, I used to try to beat people up, being like Sugar Ray Leonard, and I literally wanted to be that dude, and he was my guy, and was still my guy, and he's the only fighter that I got sad when he retired. I was sad because I was a kid, man, and he was in his prime. He was in his prime. We'll get back to this in a second. He was in his prime when I had really gotten into boxing, and then his prime got cut short because of the detached retina. So you think about careers, and he, as much as he did, he didn't have a ton of fights, and he missed a lot of time. He didn't really have a prime, and he was coming into his prime because when he knocked out Tommy Hearns, when he came back and knocked out Tommy Hearns, and he was just growing into that welterweight frame. And I think Bruce Finch, he knocked out Bruce Finch in like 2 or 3 rounds next, and he was really coming into his prime. But anyway, that commercial, man, I wish I had it prepped. I didn't even know I was going to talk about Sugar Ray Leonard, but feeling 7 up, I'm feeling 7 up. Sharing smiles, sharing whatever. Oh man, what great commercials! And the one with him and Duran, 2 of my favorite commercials of all time. But yeah, I definitely I gotta meet Sugar Ray Leonard, but I don't want to see him calling fights. When I saw him destroy Floyd Sr., I knew he was going to be special. Bruce, it took you that long, bro? In the Olympics. I know. But in the Olympics, everybody knew he was going to be special. And Howard Cosell fell in love with him because he saw another Ali. But these fights on May 2nd, can't say I'm very excited about Haney and Ramirez, although Haney's coming back, so you want to see how he comes back. You would think that mentally he'll be okay. Teofimo Lopez and Barboza. It's a good fight, I guess. But Garcia Romero. Now, Ryan Garcia should be a huge favorite, you would think. It's going to be entertaining, but it might not, because people talk about Rolly like he's some big trash talker. All Rolly does is curse. Now, like maybe he's just not that witty where he can't really be funny like Ali or guys like that. Maybe he just can't, but he doesn't really talk trash. He just curses. And really graphic, like he just curses and curses and curses. And they say it's trash talk. It's not really trash talk. It's just cursing. So Rolly's got to step up his game. Ryan's been pretty quiet on social media. He hasn't been, drinking any devil's blood or whatever he was doing before the Haney fight. So I guess that's good, but that'll probably be the most fun fight on the card. But it's going to be awesome. Wait a second. I'm just looking at this, and I don't know if this screenshot is right, but Friday, May 2nd, 12 a.m. Eastern Standard Time? That's got to be wrong. That's got to be wrong. I mean, I clipped that off of somewhere. There's no way that card is starting at midnight. But anyway, that's besides the point. That's a Friday, May 2nd. The fact that Jim Lampley is going to be calling the fights makes it amazing. I mean, I would watch the card anyway, but now you have to see who he's going to be paired with. Don't pair him with Sergio Mora and Chris Mannix. Like please don't do that. Please don't do that, Turkey. Please don't do that. You can add Andre Ward in here, okay? Please, Turkey, don't have him do it with the DAZN guys, please. But Jim is a pro, and it doesn't matter who Jim is with. He's going to be a pro. Derek Clark, hello, everybody. It's an okay card, in my opinion. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I'll be watching. It's not a killer card. Man, Stormy, stop, man. Is that the champ? Nah, it's just my dad. Yeah, little Ray. Look just like his pops. Man, what a great commercial. What a great commercial. If I could look it up real quick, I would pull it in now, but I can't do that. What a great commercial. When they fight on the same card, it means they will fight each other down the line. You would hope so. You would hope so. And going back to this again, I always thought between Shakur, Devin, Teofimo, and there was a fourth, and I'm just Devin, Teofimo, Shakur, like there was another, but you would think that In 2024, we wanted to see one fight between any of them, and it never happened. So we'll see. We'll see. Tank Shakur, Teofimo, and Haney. Those are like the four princes, not the four kings, the four princes. And you in 2024, when 2024 started, I remember doing a show on Pro Box, and we were like, I said, any matchup of those four names, any one out of Tank Shakur, Devin, and Teofimo, any matchup, let's do it. And it didn't happen. Now, Devin Haney had the issues with Ryan Garcia. We'll see if those guys, any of those guys, fight in 2025. Haney still is coming back, and I know Haney's got business with Ryan Garcia, so that leaves him out. But Shakur and Tank, like, are they going to fight? Are we? It's just, I know it's a different era, in as many fights that are being made, there's still many that aren't. And the fact that Tank and Shakur and Haney and Lopez, the fact that they haven't fought each other, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Derek Clark, rather see them fight each other. Rolly's the bad guy. People watch to hate. Yeah, that's how it is. They've been doing that ever since, I mean, back in the day, all the crackers watched Jack Johnson. They watched him fight because they want to see him lose. Crackersville wanted to see Jack Johnson lose, and Ali, same thing. Ali was not very well liked because he was a loudmouth, and he accepted that. Shakur, I kind of like that Shakur's accepting the fact that he's the villain. So he's leaning into that, and I like it. I like it. Like he said, I saw him on someone's show today. It was a pretty good show. I forget the name of it, and I apologize, but he said, "Look, I can't do anything right because people are going to criticize him." So it is what it is, but you want to get the good fights. You want to show your skills, and I hope Shakur gets big fights. When Rolly said that he wanted to move up to fight Errol Spence 2 years ago, I remember thinking, exactly how hard did Tank hit this guy? Yeah. Derek Clark says Rolly is a gimmick. He sure seems like it. Stormy, Barboza should have T.O. for dinner. We'll see. T.O.'s just, man, I don't know. I don't know what to say about T.O. I really don't. I completely don't like to hear him talk anymore because he just says wild shit, and that's what he does. He just talks shit, and that's what he does. He doesn't fight that much. Rolly is a prime example of someone who talked their way to the top and didn't earn it in the ring. Well, that happens in boxing, and boy, he really, Cruz just ran him out of the ring when they fought. But yeah, this card, May 2nd, it's a good card. I am very curious to see who gets paired up with Jim Lampley. But again, I keep going back to this. This is the trio that I would love to see on that night. This is the trio that I want to see. So the rest of March, not a lot going on. I mean, I know we got Fundura's got a fight. I'm not looking forward to Cambosis. Stormy, you either die a hero or live long enough to become a villain. Harvey Dent, The Dark Knight. Shakur Stevenson, there you go. There you go. So it's a pretty slow march, but keep going back to this dude right here. Gary Antoine Russell. That when a fighter makes you excited, where you want to see him again, that's a special thing. That's a special thing. And he was just amazing that night. He was amazing. I didn't know what to think of him because I thought he was gonna win a belt in his first try at a title, and he didn't. He didn't. But the way he looked, it excited me. I want to know more about him. I want to see a 24/7 on him. I want to see stories about him but they don't do 24/7 anymore. They come out with this bullshit 14-minute shows and 16-minute shows. They did that for Tank and Roach. Like they had 2 shows. One was I think 14 minutes, one was 16. That's one show. Come on. Just do it right. Do it right. Yes, Stormy, I just want to see him fight again. The way he looked so good. He was so focused. It was one of those nights where he was good. It didn't matter who was in the ring. He was beating them that night. He was beating them that night. And man, he looks so good. And he's a champ at 140. He's the WBA champ. You got Richardson Hitchens, the IBF champ, Puello, who I thought Sandor Martin won that fight. It was a close fight. Wasn't a great fight. But I thought Martin won that fight. And you got Teofimo Lopez, the WBO, but my God, man, when does he ever fight? And but Stormy, yeah, Stormy. I was about to say, um, Puello. I thought Puello lost. I thought Puello lost to Martin. And it seeing how Gary Antoine Russell looked the other night, I can't believe he didn't beat the brakes off of Puello because he looked like a completely different fighter. He really did. So, Subriel Matias is back. He had a fight. I did not watch his fight on Saturday because it was a gimme. So he was going to beat somebody up in Puerto Rico. There's some good fights to be made. Richardson Hitchens is no joke either, but Gary Antoine Russell, it's the knee-jerk reaction, right? I mean, right now, to me, he's the top dog at 140. I don't see Teo getting in the ring with him. I think Hitchens would, but we'll see what's next because he beat Valenzuela every which way, and come around 7 or 8 or 9, they started to have the doctor look at Valenzuela. The only thing he didn't do was knock him out, but it was just exciting. It was that was the best performance that night, and it was just it makes you want to see him fight again, and I can't wait to see him fight again, and I hope that he brings that focus into the ring every time. My biggest fear about him is that he's going to remain inactive. Because you look at, Gary Antoine Russell, and he's in his prime. He's 28 years old. But I won't even go back prior to 2020. 2021, and I know that was around COVID, but he had one fight. 2022, he had 2 fights. 2023, 1 fight. 2024, 1 fight against Puello. And 2025, he just had his debut. But the Puello fight, man, so he lost. Oh, that's right. That's when David Hudson scored at 118, 109 for Russell. And then 115, 112, and 114, 113. Bizarre cards. I'm still shocked that he lost, but that's my biggest fear, that he's going to be inactive. It's the worst thing for a fighter. It really is. So maybe he fights more, but that's just it's rare when guys are active. Shockingly, Teofimo Lopez had 2 fights in 2024. The Jermaine Ortiz fight, which a lot of people thought he lost, didn't look great. And then Steve Claggett. It was Steve Claggett. So, yeah. Gary Antoine Russell. Exciting. You know what else is exciting? This right here is exciting. That guy in the middle is calling fights on May 2nd. Jay Rich, I snagged Puello decision plus 200 going into the 11th. I thought he was going to pull it off. Oh, you're talking about in the Martin fight? Yeah, I wasn't scoring the fight. I thought Martin did enough, but what do I know? Gary beat the Sonic rings out of Real. Man, what a performance! What a performance! The messenger, blessings to the channel and chat. Everybody needs blessings. I'll take it. I'll take it. But I just was inspired really to talk about Gary Antoine Russell because he was that guy. He looked that good, and we're still talking about this because it is a controversy and it's not overkill to talk about it. What I know is I'm not an expert on the rules, but the rules seem hard to find. If anybody can show me the official rule book where we can get these things explained, because everything I've heard, it leaves it up to the referee's discretion. So it's not an automatic DQ if you come into the ring because it's happened before. So this rages on, but how long is the New York State Athletic Commission going to take to make this right? I don't know. Well, they probably won't make it right. Matias getting no respect. He had his opponent looking like a corpse. Well, I think he gets respect, but he shit the bed, man, when he was coming up and everyone was talking about him as the boogeyman, then he loses. So he's got power. But I go back to Chris Algieri always said he's got no defense. You got to have defense. He always said he's got no defense. You can't be a longtime champion or a world-class fighter and stay a champion without having some kind of defense. So, Derek Clark, inside PBC job. Oh, you talking about with Tank? Who knows? Who knows? Although I hear Al Heyman is not doing well, but my question would be, how long is the New York State Athletic Commission going to take to address this? And what is this technical issue? I didn't read too much. It was on ESPN's Ringside on their Instagram, so I didn't read too much into it. So I don't know. They haven't said when they're going to make a decision, but they should make. It's not that hard. Although they probably the rules seem to be so shady that they might have no choice but to say that it's the referee's. It's at the referee's discretion. Although going down like that, again, I keep going back to. I read a rule that said if you go down, you have to go down from a punch for it to be considered a knockdown. But that's not true, again, because Floyd Mayweather went down against Carlos Hernandez. He didn't go down and he didn't take a knee. His glove touched the canvas after he hurt his hand, and they called it as a knockdown. So that's the thing. Like, we're talking in circles because nobody knows. Jay, we were talking about Gary who shit the bed and bounced back. Matias could do the same given the opportunity. Well, yes, of course. If you put it like that, absolutely, he could. But he's got a lot of things to improve. Gary Antoine Russell, and remember, the fight he lost, I don't really remember much about the fight, I'll be honest. But one of the judges had 118, 109, which is ridiculous. And it was close on the other two cards. Puello was tough. If the Gary Antoine Russell that was in the ring the other night, and I know boxing doesn't work like that, but yeah. Look, Matias, I'm not going to write him off because people can improve, but Gary Antoine Russell had a close fight with Puello. Close fight, very close. And just the bounce back, his bounce back was, ooh. Did you say you're working on a documentary, and how's it going? I am working on I'm actually working on a documentary series. It is going to be called Return to the Ring. Let me see. I don't think I have any Yeah, I thought I had something to show. It's called Return to the Ring. And I want to see if I could play a tease, and I can't seem to find anything. Oh, well. One round. So it's called Return to the Ring, and basically what it is there's a company that acquired the rights to a lot of old HBO fights, and they approached me, and we're doing a doc, and it's very much like Legendary Nights. So you'll see most of the fight, but you'll have a build up into the fight, and you'll talk to the fighters. We talk to the fighters and trainers and Jim Lampley and people like that. So you build up to the fight, watch the fight, and then you get the postscript on their careers, and it's gonna be really good. And I'm tripping. Like I can't. I've got like all these Provodnikov versus Algieri. Oh, there it is. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can pull something in because I played this before. All right, let's see. Video file. Here we go. So this is not a completed version, but this is the tease to the Provodnikov Algieri show, which I played this before, but this is a little taste of what the series is going to be.
That night, June 14, 2014, it was a moment that I had envisioned. It was a moment that I had planned for.
I expected to have to chase him down and impose my fight on him.
That was the culmination of decades of work.
Over a decade ago, Ruslan Provodnikov and Chris Algieri clashed in a classic boxing showdown, the boxer versus the puncher.
Protect yourself at all times. Touch gloves.
So coming into the fight in Brooklyn, it's Provodnikov who's the star, and Algieri is the underdog opponent.
Known as the Siberian Rocky, Provodnikov was a champion and one of the sport's most feared punchers.
Ruslan Provodnikov is one of those guys that's a throwback fighter, man. Big puncher, devastating puncher.
I remember watching him and being like, that's not the kind of guy I want to fight ever. Sure enough, of course, that's the guy I draw for my first world title fight.
Chris is from New York. It's a big New York crowd. That one was electric, even by championship fight standards.
First round, I remember I was throwing shots. It was so easy to hit him. It was like so easy. Bang, bang, boom, 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 boom. Out there, stinging him. And then the idea was to trade left hooks. What a bad idea.
Good right hand by Provodnikov. Big left hook. Will we see rounds 4 and 5?
Honestly, it felt like he punched a hole in my face. I felt like this was gone.
It was a great way to start the fight, and I thought it's going to be a great way to finish this fight.
Once you get hit like that, this becomes a test of your heart, your courage, your will. Algieri matched up to that test.
I was like, all right, shit. You messed up, but we're back to the original game plan.
Jab from Algieri.
And the fight turned into everything that nobody thought it would. With Chris Algieri saying, you know, you want to rumble with me? I'm going to rumble with you.
We go to the scorecard.
I'm Chris Algieri, and this is Return to the Ring.
Whoa, man. So that's Daniel US. How's it going? As you can see, it's going great. I actually that is not a final version of the tease, but I cut that together. So I've been producing, editing, directing. It's really well done, and it's serious. Look, you saw that tease. So just for that, I interviewed Chris Algieri, Ruslan Provodnikov, Freddie Roach, Harvey Dock, Jim Lampley, Randy Gordon. So yeah, it was, and Tim Bradley was in there too. because I interviewed Tim Bradley for his fight with Ruslan Provodnikov. So it's really well done. And what you saw, we call it a tease, and it would go into setting up the fighters, and then you see the fight, and then post-fight you get the story. It's just stories. It's just telling stories. And I've always, even when I was at HBO, I was there for Legendary Nights. I helped create Legendary Nights. I was there for 24/7. I got to produce 24/7, and I always every year we were supposed to do more Legendary Night shows, and it never happened because there were budget issues. Little did I know that they were looking to get out of boxing for quite a long time. So that being said, anyway, Return to the Ring. It's gonna be really good. It really is, and I'm still trying to contact other fighters, and we're not really. It's hard for us to get the big guys. Like Floyd Mayweather doesn't want to sit down and talk to us about any fight. I am trying to get Miguel Cotto. I might be close to getting Miguel Cotto for the second Margarito fight, but it's all based on the fights that they have the rights to. And I look at the list, and we come up, and look, even Chris Arreola and Tomas Adamek, we're doing one on that show, and the stories are amazing for each guy. The fight was good, wasn't great, but it's shining a light on some of these fights that were really good fights, but really good fighters with just amazing stories, and that's what I'm all about. I'm all about the story. So, yeah, Messenger, his eye look crazy. There, you should see it. I mean, it's I've got pictures. His eye was insane. Chris Algieri, he was dabbing at it when he got hit, and his orbital bone was broken. He said it felt like his face melted at one point. So appreciate you, man. It does, it really does look great, and it's fun to work on. It really is. What camera for the interview segments? You mean what type of camera? Well, we shot everything. I think that's what you mean. We shot everything in 4K. I don't remember the camera. All I know is it's expensive. It's an expensive camera. And just last week or the week before, I interviewed Harvey Dock. So he lives in Jersey. I'm in Connecticut. We're both from Jersey. So I got to interview Harvey for that fight. And he was a spectacular interview. Really good. Really good. I'm really excited about this because, this is what I did at HBO. And that's why I'm a big proponent for shoulder programming, getting stories out there, getting to know the fighters. I talked to some jackass who he'll remain nameless. He owns one of these companies, but he thought that features or 24/7 type shows, that they only made that to show to women so their husbands could watch the fights. So a woman would watch like a feature on a fighter and say, "Oh, I like him. You can watch the fight." It was some bull. Like, stories are important, and the marketing for fighters should be better, but it isn't. It should be. It should be better, but it isn't. So someone's got to step up and do it. We're shining a light on some older fights and some fighters that you might not have talked about in a while. And I can tell you that I'm in touch with Victor Ortiz and Andre Berto because they had a hell of a first fight. They fought twice. Hell of a first fight. The first 6 rounds were like Hagler Hearns. Knockdowns, trading knockdowns all over the place. They're fun fights, but even better, you get the fighters to tell their stories, and they can tell you. I get to sit down with these fighters like Kelly Pavlik, and he tells me his rise up to get the Jermaine Taylor fight, and then post Jermaine Taylor, how hard it was to give up the sport. Yeah, it's gonna be really good. Jed Double D 1617, appreciate your work. When is Turkey going to write you a check to go along with his massive events? Turkey, yeah, everybody's trying to get into his pocket. Everybody's trying to get into his pocket. Listen, if Turkey wanted to see, it's all about having the rights to the fights. And when you have the rights to the fights, you can do things with them. You know how it is on YouTube. If you start throwing up fights, you're gonna get, you're gonna get jammed up. But he seems to respect the sport, so I don't have too much. Look, he shouldn't have done that stuff where he went into the corner of Shiraz. But I'm all about telling. I'm all about telling fighter stories because almost any fight you could do, almost any fight, even if it's not a great fight. And I'm interested to hear how these guys got to where they were. There was a guy that ran HBO, and he didn't. It's funny to say, but he didn't particularly like boxing. And he said, "Oh, but I will to say he wanted you to tell the story from a different perspective." That's all you have to do. Not every story is, oh, he's from a bad part of town and he had it rough growing up and he had no other route to go besides boxing. There are a lot of stories like that, but it's how you tell the story. You can be creative and tell a good story. And Daniel Victor Ortiz has a very interesting life story. Andre Berto has an interesting life story. So you get those guys together, you interview them, and they talk about their life, they talk about their fight. But for me, I like to know what these guys are doing now. So we get you up to speed on what happened since then. Chris Algieri, Chris Algieri worked out. Now we get. Let me. This is not a big production thing. We get a day, and by a day I mean like a few hours to do an interview. And if we're lucky, we do something else. But most of the time, it's just been interviews. But Chris Algieri, it was a long day, and he worked out because he still works out. But you're going to see him working out, and he said it's to scratch that itch. Um, so it gives you, when we can, it'll be an interesting look at the guys today. And Chris Algieri still loves the sport. He's only 40 years old, and he's talked about coming. He's wanted to come back, but he won't, and he says he never will. But it's going to be really good. I'm really really excited, and I'm trying to get Jermaine Taylor. Lou DiBella won't give us Jermaine Taylor. I don't know how Jermaine is doing. I'm hearing he's doing okay. He's had some problems, but another great story. Sad story, but we'll see. We'll see if I get in front of him, but I've had a blast so far. Danny Wood says realism instead of hype. Yeah, and the nice thing about this is it is real, and you're not trying to hype a fight because these guys have, some of these fights go back to 2007, 2008, 2014, 2015. So you're not building up hype for them to fight again, which is what 24/7 was all about. Legendary Nights, whole different ball game. It was about telling the stories of the fight and the fighters. So yeah. Tech. I am so late, but I am here. Yeah, man, you're here. All right. My wife isn't here, so I'm doing more than I tried and do them like 30 minutes, but I gotta play this beginning again.
No tomorrow.
Not this. So this is the intro to the show.
He had his hair braided, and they put some kind of chemical. I don't know if it's some whole juice. I don't know what y'all call it.
Just let your soul go. Just let it shine through. Just let your soul, baby, feel oh so silky smooth. Just let it.
Oh man, I love it. I love it. So before I bounce, I am gonna play. And look, nobody knows me. Nobody knows what I do. But when I first started to do shows on YouTube, I wasn't doing these lives. I was like every week I was doing a 1 round with George. It was 3 minutes, all boxing, and they would sometimes go to 4 minutes, 5 minutes. But it would be, it would be. Sorry, I'm laughing at Soul Glow. It would be recaps of fights that just happened or fights that are coming up, and I would have a clock and I would count, it would be, again, 3 minutes, and I'd talk about fights that happen, fights that are coming up. That's what I did. It's a lot of editing. It takes a lot of time. But yesterday, I was just inspired. I was inspired by the Tank Davis Lamont Roach fight, and I did a. Well, Derek, you got to watch this. So I did a 3 minute. I did a 1 round with George on the fight over the weekend. So I'm going to play that now. We'll talk about it a little bit, and then I'm going to bounce. But this was 1 round with George. It debuted yesterday on YouTube. And if you didn't see it, it's only a little over 3 minutes. So if you didn't see it, here it is.
There is no tomorrow. There is no tomorrow.
This is 3 minutes, 1 round, all boxing. It's old school the way I used to do it. Ring that bell and let's go. Saturday, March 1st on Amazon pay-per-view. It was Tank Davis defending his lightweight belt against Lamont Roach. For me, it will be forevermore known as the knee heard around the world. In my eyes, Tank Davis was outthought and outfought almost all night long. It turned out to be a draw, which was robbery. And the fight took a bizarre turn in the 9th round when Tank Davis took a knee. Yes, he took a knee, and you'll never believe why.
He had his hair braided, and they put some kind of chemical, I don't know if it's some hoe juice, I don't know what y'all call it.
Hoe juice?
Just let yourself, baby.
With the sweat and the heat and all, it ran down into his eyes.
I didn't want to get caught while my eyes was burning. You can get knocked out like that, so I'd rather take the knee, take the knee, take the knee. When you start counting, I'm like, what the hell? But I don't know. It's cool.
Tank, it's actually not cool. Everybody saw that knee, including the referee. They didn't call it a knockdown. The New York Athletic Commission could have gone to instant replay. They didn't. When Tank's corner attended to him during the fight, they didn't take a point off. It was a complete failure all around. The fight was a draw on 2 of the cards. If Roach had gotten credit for that knockdown, guess what? We got a new deserving champion.
Clearly in there, man. I thought I won. I thought I did enough to get the victory. Honestly, I thought I should have won without that being counted a knockdown. Look, I ain't the ref. If he had to wipe sweat out his eye, he had to wipe sweat out his eye. But the rules do state if you voluntarily take a knee, then that's an automatic 8 count.
Once upon a time, I can recall another fighter who had eye problems. He went by the name of Cassius Clay. He was fighting Sonny Liston, the most feared fighter of his day. Something from Liston's gloves got into Cassius Clay's eyes, and this is how he handled it.
Something wrong with Clay Hartman. Something wrong with Clay. I see that, Joe. His eyes are bothering him. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't know exactly what happened. They're yelling from Cassius Clay's corner. Something got in his right eye. However, he's blinking badly. Sonny's going to try to pull it on. Still having some problems with his eyes. He's blinking and he's bouncing away continually. In round 6, we know that Sonny flat-footed stance most of the time. Easy target. Easy. Play with a variety of punches. We call them combinations. Putting punches together. That's his strong point. They might be stopping it. That might be all, ladies and gentlemen. Get up there, Joe. Get up there. Get up in the ring.
That's the bell, and that's my time. That night, Cassius Clay became Muhammad Ali, and he became a legend. What happens to Tank Davis's legacy? That remains to be seen. Make sure you subscribe, and there's more content coming soon. Ah, thank you. Thank you for telling me. Aha. Aha. I had my mic muted. Thank you. Thank you, fellas. So that's what I used to do. I used to do those kind of 3-minute shows, a lot of editing music. But what inspired me Look, the Soul Glow stuff was hilarious. When he said that, I'm like, wait, what? So I had to do something with that, but it just reminded me of my whole point in doing that was, and this is not to discredit Tank. Look, I've never had hoe juice in my eye in a fight. I've been driving once and something got my almost blinded me and I thought I was gonna die. And it's not when your vision is impaired, it's serious. But there was a guy named Cassius Clay who became Muhammad Ali, who most of you know the story. When he fought Sonny Liston the first time, something they say got on. They, the dark side is that people say Sonny Liston's people put some kind of a liniment on his gloves, and it got into Ali's eye, Clay's eye. Ali, call him Ali's eye. And but you see how he handled it. Now, truth be told, Cassius Clay was telling everyone to cut the gloves off. That's, somebody did this to me, cut him off. And Angelo Dundee pushed him out there. He went out there blinded against the most fearsome fighter of his day, Mike Tyson times 10, and his eyes cleared, and then he beat him down. He beat him down. So he reacted much differently than Tank. Tank took a knee and ran to his corner and demanded that his cornermen come up on the ring apron and wipe his face, which they shouldn't have. So it was just to show different eras, different fighters. How one guy handles things isn't how another athlete handles things. That's all that was. So wasn't a knock on Tank. What it was is just shedding some light on Muhammad Ali. And if people didn't know that story, most of you did, but that was the inspiration in the Soul Glow stuff. I was done with it. My wife said, because I didn't have the Soul Glow stuff in there first, she said, you should do something with that. And then as soon as she said that, I thought about Soul Glow. So hold juice. Okay, hold. I thought he said hold juice. So hold juice. Tech, that ish killed me. Had to go tell my wife that you referenced Soul Glow. We laughed so hard. Yeah. Roast by 3 without the knockdown. I will die on that hill. I had him up by 2. I had it 115, 113. But that's just what I had it. We will see. We will see. Again, the breaking news is that the New York Athletic Commission is looking into this. I just don't know. I just don't know what they're gonna do. I really don't. You would think that they will that they will the messenger 2 and 5. Come on, George. I know you had a Jerry Curl. No, but I know I knew plenty of people with Jerry curls. I dated a girl who had a Jerry curl for a while. Man, you know, so so speaking of Jerry curls, so I grew up in Rahway, and in the summers we played a lot of basketball. Because I ran track, and even in college I ran track. So, but we played a lot of basketball in the summer, and every summer, me and my boys, me, Rudy, Steve, and Rob Young, we played basketball. And Rob, rest in peace, Rob, who passed away in the last year under, I don't even know, he got sick. He got like a cold, and he passed away. I don't think it was COVID, but Rob had a Jerry curl, and he was tall. He's like 6'3". And we would play in the summer. We would play because it was at the school. It was outdoors, but you had enough light in the parking lot so you could play. You could see well enough. And the cops generally left you alone. Once in a while, they would come and say, "You're on school property at night. You have to go." But usually, they let us play because we weren't doing it. We were playing basketball. But Rob had this curl, and he had this curl, and when you're sweat, we would play just with our short, like shirts off, shorts. You ever like try and dribble a basketball when it's got Jerry curl juice on it? It's not easy. because we were sweating anyway, and all that stuff was sweating. And oh man, so that's my that's my Jerry Curl juice story. But yeah, rest in peace, Rob. We had some fun. We had some fun. George Ure, I imagine they overturn it and Tank takes an L. It's gonna take some balls. Really, it just takes common sense. It takes common sense, but they're worried about the backlash. I know they are. I know they're worried about the backlash because it shouldn't take this long. But if here is the problem, I don't think they have a rule book. I don't think they have a book, a rule book. Hey, there's Harvey Doc's interview. I don't think they have a rule book where they can say, okay, statute 1, paragraph 12 says blah blah blah. I think it's all written. It's hard to decipher, and I think it gives a lot of leeway. I think it gives leeway to the referee. It's at his discretion. So I think they're ultimately going to say, we wish that he would have ruled it a knockdown, but it's his discretion, and he chose not to. Now, what are they going to do with the corner coming into the ring? Again, I think that's his discretion. So ultimately, I think Steve Willis cost him a title, Lamont Roach a title. I think so. Hey, message. Hold up. Do we pen relays? Now you're talking my language, but no, I didn't have the curl. Oh man, stop bringing up. You're bringing up good times of pen relays. My man Matthew, what's going on, brother? Listen was a mob fighter, wasn't he? Didn't he get punished by the mob for losing that fight? Well, I don't think he got punished. Look, we could have a whole show on that. If you've seen all the docs and read all the books, supposedly that first fight he threw it on purpose because the mob told him to, and he did the same thing with the second fight. So he did get another shot after the first fight. He got the rematch, which he lost in 1 round. So Jiffy Pop. No, I got a no, man. I had the high, like my version of the flat top, high top fade. Faded on the sides, high on the top. Squirt in some not Jerry curl juice. It would be like prickly, man. Like Arnold Schwarzenegger had it like kind of, but he didn't really have like a box cut. But I had that, and they had lines cut in on the sides. Yeah. Tech, no, man. We didn't rock mullets. Not in my part of Jersey. I had a mullet in the early 80s, but it was all Jerry curl on the back. I actually had it permed up with tight curl. Oh my God, man. Yeah, you got pics. We gotta see the pics. All right, Matthew. Matthew's gonna bring it back to serious talk here. Guys, we all talk about a sport that they allow cheating in, and you guys are all offended because they didn't want to give either one of these fighters a loss. Maybe focus on what's important. Okay. Mention 2 and 5. Arthur McKinney said it's not in the rule book. See, that's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. That's the problem. All right, Matthew, don't bring me down, man. And I know everybody wants to go and hug a Saudi crown prince because they're going to let Jim Lampley back on. You can have that crumb. And I hold my praise until they make a pension plan for them. Yeah, I've talked about that. I hope that's what will happen, and maybe it will. Yeah. Yes, sir. He had the kid in play. Yeah, except mine wasn't as high as kids or play. It wasn't as high. George, I would have liked Roach to win because he's a real throwback fighter. He's willing to fight the best. All right. Well, hour and a half is it, I just want to talk some boxing because there's not much coming up on the schedule. By the way, I'm not a fan of Boxing Scene's new layout, but that's neither here nor there. There's some fights. Look, there's fights every month. I am not interested in George Kambosos fighting on the 22nd. Callum Walsh fights. Now, Callum Walsh, I don't know, man. He seems overrated, but he fights on March 16th. And then you've got on the 22nd on Amazon Prime, I believe it's a free one, but you got Fundora against Chordell Booker. I'm in Connecticut now. Chordell Booker is not far from me, and Booker was unbeaten. Then he got knocked out by Ammo Williams. He got knocked out in one, and here he is getting a title shot. But I guess he's kind of a fill-in for Errol Spence. So Michaela Mayer and Sandy Ryan, it's a rematch. That's at the end of the month. Zepeda and Farmer. Oof, that's tough. So not a Boots Ennis and Stanionis, that fight that they've been trying to make for, it seems like, a decade. Then you got the Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn fight, which is made big by the whole egg incident. It just is. So, and then you got a bunch of fights in May 2nd, then Canelo fights May 3rd. But there's no mega fight. No mega fight on the horizon. No better be a Bivol on the horizon. So, all right, I'm about to get out of here. Ammo fights next weekend too. I didn't know that. I got to go because my wife is coming home. And I told her I'd be done. I'll leave the last word to you, Steven. Steven says, do I have a better chance to hit the lotto than the draw getting overturned or a no contest? Well, we'll see. We'll see, Steven. I think it's an easy thing to do. I think they should overturn it. I think they won't, because boxing needs to have like a complete rule book written. So when someone breaks a rule, it's not up to the discretion of the ref. Certain things are in black and white, and I think it's an easy decision. I think that Lamont Roach, it should be overturned. Lamont Roach should be the champion. I don't think it will. But that's to talk about another day. And I appreciate everyone on here. Make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll have some more fun soon. And Tech Dumb, you got the last word. It will not get overturned. George knows. I don't know. That's what I think, though. And Derek Clark, salute to you. Peace, everybody.